There is a softness to crossing a bridge that makes you stop paying attention. You do not think about the steel over the water, or the weight of every car packed in around you, or the cold river moving underneath. You trust it the way you trust the ground. On a December evening in 1967, 4,000 people a day trusted a bridge over the Ohio River. It was already failing, and no one alive could see it. That bridge had a name that sounded like a promise. They called it the Silver Bridge for the aluminum paint that made it shine over the water, and it carried U.S. Route 35 across the Ohio River between Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and the Ohio shore near Gallipolis. It opened in 1928 to a town that was proud of it. For 39 years, it did exactly what a bridge is supposed to do, which is disappear. People drove across it without a thought, the way you cross any bridge you have crossed 1,000 times, and it held. Before we go any further, if you like the kind of story that makes you look twice at the ordinary things you trust without thinking, take a second to subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel. And I want to know one thing while you're here. What's a bridge you drive across all the time and never think about? Drop it in the comments. Let's get into it. Here is the part almost no one knows. The Silver Bridge was not old-fashioned. It was cutting-edge. Most suspension bridges of its era, the Brooklyn Bridge among them, hung their roadway from cables spun out of thousands of individual steel wires, so that no single wire mattered much. The Silver Bridge did something newer. Instead of woven cable, it used a chain. Long, flat bars of steel, called eye-bars, each around 2 inches thick and a foot wide, with a rounded loop at each end. The loops were slipped over big steel pins, link over link over link, the way you'd build a chain of paper clips, except each link was a slab of steel the length of a school bus. It was one of the first bridges in the United States built this way, and it was cheaper and cleaner than cable. On paper, it was a triumph. The elegance is exactly where the danger was hiding. The steel in those eye-bars was a new high-strength alloy, more than twice as strong as the ordinary steel of the day. And because it was so strong, the engineers realized they didn't need many bars per link. Older eye-bar bridges stacked 4, 6, sometimes more bars side by side at every joint, on purpose, so that if one bar ever cracked, the others beside it would quietly pick up the load and the bridge would keep standing. The Silver Bridge used just two bars per link. It didn't need more to hold the weight, so it didn't have more. And in that single, reasonable, money-saving, entirely invisible decision lived the flaw that would kill 46 people. With only 2 bars sharing the load, the failure of one didn't mean a wounded bridge. It meant the other bar was instantly, catastrophically overloaded. There was no backup. There was nowhere for the danger to go but straight down. Now, the flaw itself. When investigators finally pulled the wreckage out of the river and laid it across a field piece by piece, they traced the entire collapse to one link, one bar. Its designation was I-bar 330 on the north chain, on the Ohio side of the river, the first link below the top of the tower. And inside the loop of that one bar, they found a crack. It had been there almost from the beginning. A tiny defect left in the steel when the bar was cast back in the 1920s, a flaw smaller than most people would notice at all. The design of the joint let a little water pool in the eye hole, and the steel carried high built-in stress from the way it was made. And over the years, that combination did something patient and quiet and terrible. Through a process called stress corrosion cracking, the flaw grew, not fast, not visibly, a fraction of a millimeter at a time, deep inside a loop of steel no one could see into for 39 years. When it finally went critical, the crack was about 1/10 of an inch deep, 3 millimeters, smaller than the width of a pencil. That is the entire flaw. That is what brought down an American bridge. And here is the cruelest fact in the whole story. There was no way to find it, not with the tools of the time. The crack was buried inside the eye of the bar, wrapped around the pin, invisible from every angle. The only way to have discovered it would have been to take the joint completely apart, and you cannot take a load-bearing joint apart on a bridge that is holding up rush hour traffic. Inspectors could have looked at that bar every single day for 39 years and seen nothing but sound, painted steel. The bridge wasn't neglected into failure by something anyone could point at. It was doomed by something no one could see. The bridge did not help its own case either. It had been built in the age of the Model T when a car weighed around 1,500 pounds. By 1967, a family sedan weighed closer to 4,000, and the trucks were far heavier still, and the traffic had grown into the bumper-to-bumper jams that older design never imagined. The bridge was carrying loads it was never meant to carry, day after day, pulling harder on that hidden crack every time the traffic backed up. December 15, 1967, backed the traffic up. It was a Friday near 5 in the evening, rush hour running straight into Christmas shopping season, and the bridge was packed nearly bumper to bumper. It was cold, right around freezing, and that mattered more than anyone standing on the bridge could have known. Cold makes this kind of steel more brittle, less able to stretch before it snaps. So you had a bridge overloaded with holiday traffic in near-freezing air that had quietly stolen the toughness out of its steel, with a critical crack in a bar that had no backup. Every condition lined up at once. Witnesses said it sounded like a gunshot. That was I-bar 330 letting go. The crack, which had taken 39 years to grow 3 millimeters, tore across the rest of the bar almost instantly. Its partner bar, suddenly carrying a load meant for 2, slipped off the pin, and the chain came apart at that joint. The tower it held went unstable and toppled, and then the whole thing came down the way the survivors always describe it, like a line of dominoes. The collapse racing across the river from the Ohio side toward West Virginia. From the first sound to the last, the entire bridge, both towers, the center span, all of it, folded into the river in about a minute. 31 vehicles went into the water with it, into a river that was 44 degrees. 64 people went into that cold, 46 of them died, and 2 were never found. It remains the deadliest bridge collapse in modern American history, and the thing that caused it, out of thousands of tons of steel, was a flaw the size of a grain of rice in a single bar. The investigators put it plainly in a way that has stayed with engineers ever since. Had there been 3 or more bars in that link instead of 2, the failure of one might not have brought anything down. The redundancy that older, humbler bridges built in on purpose was the exact thing the modern, efficient design had engineered away. The Silver Bridge was too good at being strong to survive being wrong in one small place. The response was fast, and it was national. President Johnson formed a task force on bridge safety within days, and out of the wreckage came the National Bridge Inspection Standards. The reason that to this day every significant bridge in the United States is inspected on a regular schedule and rated for its condition. The habit you never think about of crews out on bridges with clipboards and instruments largely traces back to that river in December of 1967. There was one more shadow. Upriver at St. Mary's, West Virginia, there was a twin, a sister bridge, built by the same company at the same time, to the very same design. 2 bars per link and all. The morning after the collapse, they closed it. Nobody was willing to bet that the same hidden flaw wasn't growing in it too. It never reopened, and it was torn down a few years later. Down at Point Pleasant, a new bridge, the Silver Memorial, went up nearby in 1969. Built the modern, redundant way. And because this is Point Pleasant, there's a piece of the story that lives outside the engineering. In the year before the collapse, the town had been swept up in sightings of a winged figure people called the Mothman. And after the bridge came down, the two became fused in local legend, the creature remembered as an omen of the disaster. It's a genuine part of the region's folklore, and I'll leave the folklore to the believers. What actually took the bridge down was not a warning from the dark. It was chemistry, and cold, and a design that left itself no second chance, working silently for 39 years. So here is what this story is really about. Not fear of bridges. You will cross a dozen of them this month, and you should, and almost all of them are watched and rated and sound. It's about the gap between how solid a thing looks and what might be happening inside it, where no one can see. The Silver Bridge didn't fail because it was old or ugly or obviously neglected. It failed because it was elegant and efficient and trusted, and it carried a flaw the size of a grain of rice in one bar out of thousands, in the one place the design had left with nothing to fall back on. It held for 39 years, and it looked exactly as safe on its last afternoon as it did on its first. That is the unsettling part, and it's the part worth remembering. The surface of a thing tells you almost nothing about what's holding still inside it, waiting, the way that crack waited, quiet and patient, until the coldest, crowded evening of the year.